Hello, everyone, and welcome to the bonus material that I had in mind for this course. So this is a very special module that I have set up with my very good friend Jon Rhodes, who's on the line at the moment with me also. So to give you a quick introduction, Jon has worked in mental health for 14 years. He has written numerous hypnosis courses, and he also owns a site called narcissisms.com. And to put it very bluntly and very matter of factly, he's one of the top experts in narcissism that I've ever had the pleasure of knowing. And I am very, very excited to be able to introduce him as part of this module. And very warm welcome to you, Jon. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for inviting me, Adrian. I think it's really important that as many people as possible learn about narcissism because it's useful in almost every facet of life. So I'm really excited to help you with this one.
Perfect. Thank you. Thanks a lot, mate. Let's actually go and move through this presentation, because this module is going to be about narcissism in its personal capacity. So let's move on to the next slide. Okay. I just want to confirm that you can also see this. No hassles on your side.
Yeah, I can see it fine.
Okay,
Yeah,
perfect, perfect. So in this instance, we want to talk about narcissism in personal capacity, and we have a follow-up module to this, which is going to be about the work capacity. So before we even get started, we just want to add this disclaimer into the mix. This has to be for educational and self-improvement purposes only, because you can't diagnose someone with narcissistic personality disorder unless you are a licensed mental health professional, such as a psychologist or psychiatrist or someone along those lines. And if you do need professional help, and if you do suspect someone has NPD and all that, it is definitely advisable to speak to someone in that field who would be able to assist you with that. So the aim for this is to help you spot the traits and to help you protect yourself, but not to go out and diagnose people. Just thought we'd get that out of the way, right, Jon? Because otherwise,
yeah. Well, ultimately, if somebody's toxic, whether you diagnose them with it or not, they're toxic. So it will help you see whether somebody's toxic, regardless of whether they've got the full disorder or not, is kind of irrelevant. If they're bad for your life, they're bad for your life, aren't they?
yeah, exactly, exactly. So this is more for your personal protection and immunity, if we can call it that. So let's
Yeah.
move on. So if we look at narcissism in personal capacity, why does this matter if you want to be a high performer? And Jon will be able to help with practical examples over here too. Is that your personal relationships form a massive part of your overall well-being in life. And even people who say that they've done everything alone or believe that they can do it alone, you can't. We are a very interactive and cooperative species. We need other people to thrive, and we need other people to survive. So if you have people in your life who are really dragging you down, you are going to struggle with your overall performance. And the aim behind all of this is to equip you with the protective tools to be able to spot it and handle it a lot better. Almost like building a personal immunity, or strengthening your immune system towards narcissism, because it is an affliction that can really drag you down, and people completely underestimate the effects that it can have. Would you agree with that, Jon?
Yeah, well, there's that saying, isn't there? Like, show me the five closest people to you in your life, and I'll show you your life. That's what you'll be like. The people around you affect you so much. They're kind of a part of you, aren't they? And if,
Yeah.
if you have narcissists in your life, you are severely handicapped. It's like having lead boots on.
Yeah, no, I fully agree. And the other thing about this too, and this is a really important one, although somewhat uncomfortable, I think, is that learning about it also allows you to explore your own traits. And yes, we all have narcissistic traits, but that doesn't mean that you're a full-blown narcissist. But the reality is we all have them. And in in small enough doses, they're actually very helpful to us. So it's not as if a narcissistic trait or two traits, uh, or, or or even one or two more than that is necessarily bad. It becomes bad
No,
when many
we
of
need we need a little bit of selfishness, don't we, to sort of survive out in the world. We need to think of ourselves, don't we? So there is a
absolutely.
natural little bit of an inclination, like you say.
Absolutely agree with you, John, because otherwise you'll become a doormat, and that is not helpful to you either. And speaking of which, let's see why this is important in performance coaching. So it helps you to identify emotional labor in relationships. So what does that mean, emotional labor? Well, essentially just which relationships are very demanding and taxing on you. How much effort do you have to put into these relationships in order to keep them going? Are they taxing you? Do you have to put a lot more effort in? Are they very demanding, and so on and so forth? And also, as I said earlier, healthy relationships are peak performance. If you get along well with the people in your life, if the people in your life are uplifting you and they are supportive of you, it's so much easier to reach your goals and so much easier to operate at a higher level. Because, as John said earlier, it's like wearing boots. And these people, unfortunately, don't care about the impact that they have on you. Don't trick yourself into thinking that. Because
And what they are as
go
well
ahead,
is
John.
that they're sort of takers, aren't they? So they take from you, they drain your energy, and all your energy goes into them rather than the things that are important to you. That's a big problem.
Exactly. And it's also important to use these challenges as opportunities for growth, because I was saying to John before we started recording this that one of the things that dawned upon me a while ago is that the idea behind narcissism, or narcissism education, if we can call this, if we can call it as such, is not to avoid them, because good luck to you if you can avoid all of them. I envy you if you're able to completely avoid narcissists in your life. But the practical reality is that that's unlikely to happen, especially if you work in a competitive field. Even going about your daily life, you will encounter them. The idea is more to make yourself stronger. It's like, for example, if you use your body as an example, for you, it's not about never getting exposure to germs, but rather to strengthen your immunity by getting some exposure without completely overwhelming the system and breaking down. I think that's a good way to put it. Would you? What are your thoughts on this?
I was just thinking, I was nodding, but you can't see me. Yeah, yeah, that's a good way, wouldn't it? Like you say, you can't avoid them unless you sit on a mountain in the middle of nowhere and become a monk. The reality is they're here, so we might as well try and find the best way of dealing with them, identifying them, and maybe keeping them arm's length or avoiding them if we can. But you can't always.
No, no, definitely not. And this is where we get into the more technical stuff, and this is where John's inputs are going to be really, really useful to all of you. So, narcissism, I'll just give a brief introduction. It's part of what's known as the cluster B of personality disorders. So, these include narcissistic personality disorder, or NPD, antisocial personality disorder, or ASPD or APD. That's just a fancier term for psychopaths, or rather the technical term for what we know as psychopaths. Then you have borderline personality disorder, and John can give a bit more detail about what the nuances and differences are between them. I think that's more vulnerable narcissism, if I've got that correct, John.
Yeah,
And
a lot of people sort of call it that. Yeah, what borderline is? It's kind of the same as narcissism, but with a bigger emotional component. A narcissist usually kind of suppresses their emotions, whereas a borderline can't control them and they spit them out and they're very volatile emotionally. But
okay.
behavior wise, the
And histrionic.
motivational wise, and histrionic, yeah, they're very attention seeking, quite similar to the borderline, really, very attention seeking. They can sometimes be quite hypersexualized because of that, because they want the attention of it rather than the act itself. And so they're very look at me, look at me. Um, and when you get into the narcissists and the psychopaths, they're more removed from the emotion.
Thank you for checking out this preview of the VIA Optionality course. To access the full module, sign up using the link in the description. See you there.